everyone, so we're back. This weekend's going to be a little bit of a combo. We're going to be doing a little bit of work on the XK today. Hopefully get the last of the pieces in high fill primer, and Dylan will be blocking back the pieces that are already there. I'm going to try and finish welding the intermediate section for the Torana, so that way tomorrow's part of the video will be me going back into work and finishing the tailpipe on the Torana. And we've got some new shiny bits that have turned up from Melbourne. The guys at Diff King got the LSD center built and the axles built, so they've arrived. We can pop those in, and yeah, there's some other bits and pieces to go on that one. So mainly going to be Torana. Just got a few bits and pieces to do on the XK today to tidy up, and yeah, let's just see where the progress on that is. This old girl's warmed up, so I'm going to put it outside and we'll hook in. See you soon. Okay, so everything's wiped down, cleaned down and blown off, and the prime is mixed up. I'm just resting after we've mixed it all up. Time to pour some coats onto these things and let them sit for a week or two, and then Dylan can get into blocking these, and the XK is done, ready for seal up and then colour. Let's get into it. Okay. Okay, so that's round one. First coat of primer. Ignore the run. That's the first one in the system. So, and it's in a spot that we can feather out, and the grill will come down there. You're not really going to see it, but we will rub that out. But the rest of it laid on nice and smooth. We'll let it flash off for a little bit longer, and then we'll get back in, give it another hit. Alrighty, we'll bring you back in once we've done that. Okay, so we finished up on the XK for today, and we're going to see if I can remember how to weld these V-band flanges on, so we can take this into work tomorrow and get a bit done on that Torana. Didn't quite work. Another shot. Still not happy. I'd like somewhere to rest my hand. Helps you don't bump the pedal. Also might help if I put some glasses on. Huh. That'll do. I'll find my glasses, then we'll keep going. Okay, so we finished the TIG welding to get the V-beam clamps on. Now I've just got to finish bracing up the bracket for the rear hanger, and a couple of the welds on the pipes that we did at work are a bit undercut, so I'll go through and fill them up. So we've got something to sand and grind back, and we're out of gas on the TIG welder, so I'll see if I can get this thing to work. Okay, so that's a wrap on today. We've gone through and spot primed the bits of the rub through and where we put the fine filler on the XK, so that there's no more rub throughs on there anyway. And then down inside here, we've got all the doors. Dylan's got them all blocked back externally and in the jambs. And I got 4 coats of high fill on the fenders and the stone tray. So they can sit now till next weekend, and we'll go through and guide coat those and start rubbing those back and fix any little pinholes. Which one was it? I think it was the right hand one. Yeah. So there's a little sink back one in there. So this is the one that needed a lot of work on the nose cone. So that needs a couple little scrapes of filler, and the left hand one had a little bit of a crease just about there. So that won't block out with the primer, so we'll have to give that a little light scrape as well. Not a lot, probably just a hit with the finish filler, and that'll be ready to go. And then we'll dust a light coat of spot primer over those. Then with the Torana stuff, I've managed to get that intermediate section of the exhaust all done. All the V-band clamps have been finished, welded on. Tomorrow we'll take it into work and we'll build from there out to the tailpipe. And I'll just tack all of that because I like the way my little Renegade welder goes rather than the one at work. It goes down a bit finer and a bit lower. And I'll weld that all up and then get in and sand it back like I did with those. Those ones, when it comes off the car for the final time after fit up, we'll probably get hit with the little air sander, and we'll go through and make them a bit finer and get those ready for going out to coating. We'll probably get the whole thing coated in black, like a satin ceramic coat black, and that'll just make it blend away and go away underneath the car. Okay, so I'm going to leave it there for today. I'll get in, clean up, sweep up, get that exhaust into the back of the ute, ready to take to work tomorrow. And we'll see you guys tomorrow at the workshop with the Torana. And we'll get the exhaust finished off and that hopefully the diff center and the axles in, because they all arrived on Friday. See you in the morning. Bye. Okay, so we're back on the Torana. It's not the next day, it's a couple of days later. We had to wait for some bits and pieces, and oddly enough, the one piece we were waiting for was something as simple as a damn diff gasket for the diff center. So none of the suppliers locally had anything, so we had to wait for that to come out of Melbourne, and their overnight air freight turned into 2 days later. But we've got it. We'll seal it up and go from there. So that's ready to go in. Liam's got that housing all cleaned up, and the center and everything's over there ready to go in. So we're going to goop that up, get that in tonight. And while we were waiting, I've got new tie rod ends in on the steering rack and a fresh set of springs and shocks in. Well, nearly a pair of them. Left-hand ones left to go. So they are going to match the ones we put in the rear. We've gone for the lowered coils, which are equivalent to a factory SLR A9X type height. So a nice height without being stupid, and it'll give a nice ride. So one thing to watch when you're doing these ones, I got the boys to pull them out for me during the day while I was away, but because on the Torana, let's see if we can look up in here, where your Ackerman arm bolts to the back of the steering knuckle for the steering, that sits right above, if I get this out here to focus, that sits right above the nut for the ball joint. So I should have explained, hey, you got to drop the caliper off and then drop the rotor off. That'll get the bolts for the Ackerman arm. Take the Ackerman arm off, heaps of room, drop it at the ball joint, and that way you get a lot more control with a jack or a prop under there to slowly release the spring pressure off, and it's a lot safer. Once you've cracked the bolts, the tension off your lower control arm bolts in there, it'll let it smoothly roll down, and you can control the pressure as it's coming off. They dropped, or one of the boys dropped the inner bolts out. Now, if you're gonna drop it from there and leave it on the ball joint and let that swing down, hey, they got them out, but you've got a lot less control over it. You've now got a moving pivot at the top and the bottom, which not real stable when you're trying to release all the stored energy of a coil spring, especially a standard height spring that was in the car, which was taller than this to start with. So if you like your fingers, hands, teeth, nose, jaw, don't do it that way. So we can get the nut back on and undone with the Ackerman arm still on. See if we can get around here. It's just going to be a little bit more fiddly, but we will be able to get in there. So the nut sits underneath the perch of the Ackerman arm, but we'll get in there and it's just a bit slower going, that's all. But I personally would have taken the rotor and caliper off and would have been a lot quicker. So I'm going to prop you guys up over here for the moment and we'll get this in. Right, so we've got that all free to move. Slowly wind the pressure up on this. Okay, that's all seating in nice. Line our ball joint up. So the leading edge of the ball joint's just started in the taper. Now I'm just going to slowly put pressure on this until it seats up in, making sure that we don't unload the hoist pad and unload the car. And then just give this a little pry down. And the thread's just poking through, so there's enough room to get the nut started underneath the Ackerman arm. And now, a little bit more pressure, but what we'll do is relocate this. Just so it's got a nice push rather than being on an angle. There we go. Heaps of pressure still on the hoist pad. Okay, so that's enough. And that's the one we want. Now this is where it would have been a lot easier if the brake rotor was off. See if I can turn the wheel the other way. Let me chop and grab this so we can get into the angle a bit better. Everything's at that height I can't reach. Yeah. Now, that gives us a bit more room. I'm going to find a shorter spanner. That one's too long. So you'll often see guys thinking, oh, this is quicker because I'm not pulling more stuff apart. In the long run, A, it's going to be safer, B, it's going to be easier, and at the same time, if not less, to pull the other stuff off and actually get in there and get more room to work. Never mind, get it. And our bump stops in the way as well, but nearly. Grab a torch and line that split pin hole up, and we'll get you in and show you. Okay, so we've got that spring in and the ball joints all done up tight, and that was nice and easy to put up, and there was no slipping, no trying to lose your fingers or anything like that. So that's how I've always done it, and it's the easiest way to go. Yes, we do have to put the shock in this side, and I was going to do that so the front end was all fully finished for now. But the boys have gone home and turned the air compressor off, and the hole in the bottom of the factory control arms where the shocks go is too small for late model shocks. The shocks that are sold today are a lot bigger body diameter, so this car, being as low K as it is, has only ever had one pair of shocks changed in its life, and they look like they're from the late 70s, early 80s, mid 80s. They were a smaller body back then, and they only just cleared the hole. So what we're going to have to do is take a die grinder and just give it a light touch up on the edges, there, and the front and back as well, so it can go in an angle. So I'll do that tomorrow when I get the compressor turned back on. And then our steering and suspension is all done as far as this car, what it needs. And we can get back into doing the diff pumpkin and everything like that. And I'll probably remember the tripod so I don't have to try and hold the phone with one hand and just, yeah, it's all clumsy. So for now, that's it for today. And I'll get in and get the shock finished off and the diff and axles in tomorrow. Okay, see you in the morning. Hi guys, okay, let's get back in here and show you what we're going to do this afternoon now that the weather's cooled off a bit. So tonight, this is going to go in. So this is the True Track, or the torque sensing LSD that we were talking about, that Diff King down in Victoria has built up for us. So it's one of their units, so 28 fine spline to go with their 28 fine spline billet axles, which are, I'm assuming, just a off-the-shelf universal axle that you'd use in a Ball Warner or a 9-inch, I'm assuming. So that's all there, they've been cut to length, they're all good to go. We're going to get the housing sealed up and get that in so we can chuck the axles in and get oil in it, so that side of things is sealed. And that's one more thing done. Liam got the last of the shocks in this afternoon, so that's all done and buttoned up. And then it's just keep ticking off pieces as we go. Right, so we're gonna put a bit of RTV either side of this gasket, and I'm using grade 3 bond. I've used this stuff, heck, since I was an apprentice. Everyone's got their own preference, but 3 bond was the OE supplier for Mazda, where I worked for like 9 years, did my apprenticeship there, and as far as I know, it's also the OE supplier for guys like, or used to be, Toyota and some of the other big Jack companies. Now, not saying it's the only one to use, everyone's got their own preference, but to be brutally honest, this stuff is, I've never had it cause a failure. And there is cheaper stuff out there by all means, but when you look at it, this tube, oh God, I think we've had sitting in the fridge, because after you use it, we just seal it up and chuck it in the door of the fridge. It's probably been sitting in there 6 months and it's still liquid, hasn't gone off. You can still squeeze it out of the tube like you're supposed to be able to. Permatex stuff never ever lasts that long no matter what we do. And keeping it in the fridge helps, but the grey is generally, I think, what Mazda used to say was what they recommended for the oil surfaces and stuff like that, if I remember right. And they also do a red or a browny oxide colour, which was more for cooling systems and that. But man, this stuff is good. And again, you will pay a little bit for it, but it's worth it to not have to redo over and over again chasing stupid leaks. So I just put a light layer around the housing side without making too much of a mess. And around all the studs. Now, where's our gasket? This will only go on one way. And start again. Okay. All I can say is thank God it's not a 9-inch center. Wouldn't want to be lifting that in on my own after hours. Okay. Now that bottom one, we want to make sure we don't get too much on there and we don't seal that hole up just around it, because that is your oil drain. Okay, so neaten ourselves up a little bit. So it doesn't look quite so much like a hack. And grab ourselves a nut. Stick the nut and washer up there. And we should be able to go in without making too much of a mess of the gasket. Put that one on so it doesn't drop out and smack me in the head. Okay, grab the rest of the hardware. There's 2 bolts. Oh, where is it? What is that one? Really? Oh, yeah. Okay. Come on. Wind to the back. Can't see. There we go. Next one. That one. Here's the last one up here. One more. Is he there? Okay, so what I didn't pay attention to is that's a center that Diff King built for us. I never even thought to ask. I thought all banjos are the same. The banjo that was or is in the Torana, the housing, the bottom drain bolt and the bolt beside it are the two bolts that hold it into the car. They had a long part of cast iron on there. This one's not, it's out of a different series banjo diff, so it only needs two short bolts. So what I'm going to do is just wind these bolts in to keep the threads clear from the silicone. And tomorrow I'm going to have to go down to the nut and bolt shop and grab a pair of bolts that are shorter to put in there. No big deal, just can't put oil in tonight, but we'll get the rest of the axles in a second. That way we know the thread's all clear all the way through. And we'll just make sure, as far as I know, all the uni yokes are all the same. Hopefully they're all the same. We got new Hardy Spicer universal joints for the car, because the ones that are in the original tail shaft are greasable. Not that this is a big horsepower build or anything stupid like that, but greasable U-joints obviously have a gallery through the middle of the cross, which is a weak spot where they can break. So, yeah, cool. All right. So that side of things is all good. So these are they're more expensive, but they're the Hardy Spicer solid one, non-greasable, and able to hold up to a bit more of a flogging or a hiding, if you like, before they end up cracking or snapping a yoke off. All right, we'll clean up and bring it down and start getting the axles in. Okay, scratch what I said about having to go chase bolts up tomorrow morning. Yeah, I went through my pile of leftovers in the toolbox and we had two 3/8 UNF bolts in there. We've put the copper washers back on and popped Permatex liquid thread sealer on the threads. So they're all nice and tight. The gasket's got a good imprint around the housing. So I'm gonna drop the car down. We'll get the axles in and fill it up with the oil, and that'll be where we call it for the night, I'd say. Okay, so the axle flanges on these normally have a paper gasket, and this one doesn't have anything left anymore. So it's all been cleaned up. We'll just, again, give it a really nice light coat of the 3-bond. Before we stick our backing plate back up on there. Don't have to do this. But I do. Alright, so that's and grab our backing plate that Liam cleaned up and gave us a coat of paint on, so it looks fresh. And then didn't clean inside there though. What I'll do is where the retaining plate goes on, I'll give that a light coat as well, and where the bearing goes into the collar, I'll give a light coat. And the only reason I'm going to do that is when we pulled the old axles out, there was the tiniest little nicks in it, in the housing. We've given them a bit of a light sand with some emery tape and stuff like that so they're smoothed over, but I just want to make sure that in case it does wick a little bit of oil down past there, then we've got half a chance of it sealing up by having this on there, and it won't leak axle oil out onto our brakes. And hopefully it leaks out through that hole, if it does get out, and runs out the back of the backing plate, away from the brakes. It's not a young car anymore, so it's probably had a few different axle bearings in it over the years, and someone just got a little bit aggressive digging the outer shell out. Not enough to worry about. This will be more than enough to seal it. Don't really have to do the top. Oil's never going to be up there if it is your issue, but we're here now. And the other good thing about 3-bond, it takes ages to go off, so you don't have to worry about it skinning off. All right, so they're all clean, ready to go. These came from Diff King, all assembled, axle bearings on and everything ready to go. So, and cut to length. There we go. Ish. Get the mullet for a second. Just give it a little bump. Now, because they are cut to fit axles, like what Diff King did, yeah, that's engaged in there, did trim them to length for me, and he's also put a small bevel on them, but it is just that little bit firm to go in, but it's going in, not a problem. You can see it's engaged on the pinion already. There we go. More bumps. Oopsie. There we go. Now just find the hardware and we'll bolt that up. Okay, so that's home, and I've started 2 of the nuts. Now, we could do this up with an impact gun, but they're only a fairly small stud, and I like to be able to feel, especially on older threads, whether it's going or slipping or gonna let go. I don't know. I just prefer to feel manually that it is tight and it is finished. Or you could, on the other hand, use a torque wrench and torque it up properly, but never had an issue. Good. Okay, so that's one. Near-node infloat, and that's really nice and smooth. All right, cool. All right, we'll flick around to the other side and get it in. Rightio. Okay, so we've got both axles in, they're all tightened up and sealed up. So now we've got to pop some diff oil in it. And Michael wanted a 85 W140 mineral oil. So we've got the Penrite one. It's the same one that he uses down there. So hopefully this should mean we don't have any issues. Here we go, cool. We've got 2 bottles of this, so hopefully it's enough. Sorry, hopefully 1 bottle's enough. And what I want to do is after we run the cam in and got it all set up and taken it for a drive, we'll get it back, and before we give the car back, we'll go through and change the engine oil, probably change the auto oil and change the diff oil again. And then from there, the owner can just go about doing his regular maintenance and it should all be good. Just like to get the first batch of oil out after a couple of 100 Ks, just in case there's any machining or swarf in there, or from the running period. These hand pumps are so slow. On the plus side, there's no leaks coming out of the front of it, so pump's seen better days though. Most of the bottles in there. Here we go, a couple more. Yep. Okay. Put this over here. Don't have to go rocko tight on those, just firm. And we'll clean our mess up. And that's one more thing done. Alrighty, so we're going to leave that video there for tonight. We'll probably call it on that video for the whole week actually, and just get it together. It's a bit of a mishmash of different bits and pieces, but it's something. And then this weekend, being a long weekend for the King's birthday, we'll get in and try and get a fair bit done on there and have it all in a nice sequence for you. But axles are in, centers in, oils in, put the wheel cylinders back on so we could seal the brake lines back up. So tomorrow it'll be a case of coming in and making sure the oil's all still inside of it, I suppose, make sure all the seals are good. So yeah, other than that, that's all done. The next one, we're going to get into getting the brakes together on the backing plates. I've got a little bit of cleaning on that stuff to do, and just tidy up some bits and pieces. And then I want it to the point where the front and rear wheels are back on, and it's all whole as a roller. And then I'll get into getting the cylinder head off, the cooling system apart, and finally dropping the gearbox out. I'll get the gearbox away, get it built, and while we're waiting on it to come back, we'll get the head machined and cam in and swapped over and everything like that. So again, don't forget to give us a like, share and a subscribe if you could. That'd be awesome. And again, till next time, see yous. Bye.